Awesome. So we've got Jeff Phillips. He's going to be showing us the buyer's consultation with Team Fast today. He has an incredible buyer's consultation. Elias spoke super highly of it. So thanks so much, Jeff, for allowing yourself to be in this space and run through the buyer's consultation with us.
Of course, man. It's always a pleasure. Anybody that's watching this, just know that the team always has your back anytime you need it. This is going to be a great tool to utilize.
Love it, JP. Love it for sure. So just to give the folks watching a little bit of color behind who the buyer is going to be. I'm going to be the buyer, and this buyer is a single mother. She has a 3-year-old child. She just landed into some IPO money, so she's going to have a large down payment. She's going to be looking in the areas of Pittsburgh and Antioch, and she already got pre-approved because Jeff already sent her the lenders. So she got pre-approved with his lender, and she's pre-approved to 700. So JP, I'll let you take it away.
All right, perfect. So let's go ahead and do this. Hey, Cynthia, how you doing today?
Hey, Jeff, I'm doing well. Thank you for asking.
Good, good. How was your day? Any highlights to it?
Oh, you know what? Little one got a little bit of a scrape on the elbow. She's watching TV so that we can fully focus on this.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. I mean, I got a 2-year-old, so I completely understand what you're in right now. It's so beautiful to see these years, though. They're developing their imagination. They are a little more rambunctious. My son was just jumping off the couch the other day, just straight up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, slow down, slow down, slow down. So I completely understand, but I'm glad we were able to make this time. That way I can give you the full understanding of, what's going to happen in this next phase. I'm really, really excited to be able to help you guys out. It's been a blessing so far.
Awesome. Thank you.
So today we're going to go through a quick buyer's consultation. Shouldn't take any much more time than 15, 20 minutes. It's going to give you the overview of everything that is to expected through this whole entire process. But understand, I will be there with you the entire time. So you won't have to worry about, can I call them? Can I text them? I'm always available for you. That way you can understand what we're going to be going through. Okay.
Awesome.
All right. So let's go ahead. You can see my screen.
I can perfectly. Thank you.
Perfect. So, let's do this. We will start the presentation. Boom. Perfect. All right. So, like I said, we're going to go through this really, really quickly. It's going to be you and me. Let's go ahead and hit this now. So, the first thing I always love to start off, we are Team Fast. As you can see, other side, we are the #1 Zillow review team in the Bay Area. Right now, we are on pace to do 600 million in volume this year. Now, that number sounds really big and really cool, but what I really love taking from that is the relationship that we've cultivated by doing $600 million in volume. That's 100 plus of my brothers and sisters developing relationship with other listing agents, as well as themselves having listings that can really help us through this process. Because a lot of times when we go out there, making that difference of knowing who the listing agent, maybe they have an off-market opportunity, or maybe they just give us that much more information when we're writing up our offer, it can really be the differentiator between getting our offer accepted and not getting our offer accepted. So through that 600 million, just know that you're working with a great team that's going to have your back the entire time.
Awesome.
Now, right now, I'm sure you're going on Zillow, you're going on Trulia, Redfin, all these different, you got Craigslist ad getting sent to your email. You're trying to put it all together. Would that be safe to say that's what you're doing?
Oh, for sure. I love going on Zillow.
It is my girl's favorite thing. I mean, I'm always on it as well, but she's always hearting houses and sending it to me. But sometimes that can get a little unorganized and you're trying to find that house that you were just like, oh, I loved it, but what was the address? Is it pending now? What Team Fast, as well as myself, is going to do for you is set you up with a great tool called Real Scout. So what this does is it organizes that search for you, because in this market and just in general, it's better to be proactive than reactive while we're out doing this search. So Real Scout is going to be a tool that I'm going to set you up with a profile. We're going to put all that criteria up into it. Pittsburgh, Antioch, your bed bath split, how much we've been pre-approved for, and you're going to be able to interact with it. So you'll be able to tell me, I like the lawn, I like the kitchen, didn't like the bedrooms. So when I'm getting these interactions from you, I'll be able to tell, okay, she liked this, she didn't like this, but she liked the house. So I'll be able to call you, hey, Cynthia, I see you like this house. Can you go see it tomorrow? And that way we can keep track of the houses we've seen, but also the amenities that we like. So I'll be able to set you up with that. That's going to be a great tool.
Awesome.
And so the next aspect here is the roadmap of what we're going to talk about today. So right now we're going through the initial consultation. We're going to talk a little bit more about financing and what it takes to go home shopping. But this is really just your rubric of everything we're going to talk about. We're going to go through the escrow process, the closing process, and I'll also be sending you this over as well as my buyer education through High Note presentation. That way you also have that as well.
Oh, thank you. Sounds good.
Perfect. So right now, we're going to talk about the loan process. So I sent you those lenders. I'm so thankful that you got to be able to send the information in. The lender that you picked is one of my favorite. I love how on top of it she is. She responds on weekends, on holidays. She really, truly cares about us being successful through this process. So thank you so much for sending that in.
Yeah, she was really great, super communicative.
Good. She's going to be that way through the whole entire process. And I really want you to understand that we are a team through this whole entire process. So what I love about her that sets her apart is after we send in a offer, she's actually going to call up the listing agent and let them know how qualified you are. She's going to talk to them about how we've gone through the DU or the desktop underwriting process. So you're even more underwritten and you're ready to go. That way we can maybe waive some of those contingencies we'll talk about later, but she is on top of it. I love working with her.
Awesome.
So we got you all the way through. Don't worry. Now, right here, we're going to talk about the offer process. So this is, we've gone through Real Scout. You've notified me, hey, this house in Pittsburgh, I love it. I think that the kids are going to have fun being on the front lawn, doing picnics, all of that. And now we want to put in an offer. So as your agent, I am here to educate and advocate for you. So what we're going to do when we're creating an offer, I'm going to do what's called a comparative market analysis or a CMA. That way you understand what that particular neighborhood is doing so that we can put our best offer forward. But there's a few things that go into that offer. The other thing I like to do here, Cynthia, is just really quickly, I like to dive into what is your why right now in going through this home buying journey?
Oh, sure. So my why is to get our little one through her preschool days and be able to come home to an amazing home that's safe and that we're going to be able to feel like is truly our place.
Beautiful. So what I'm hearing is that you're really getting into it right now for the stability and the ability to provide a beautiful life for your daughter and for yourself as well, and being in a neighborhood that you can get appreciation, but have those benefits of being a homeowner, correct?
Totally right on point.
Perfect. I love to have us keep that in mind because sometimes in this market, it can be a little bit tough and there are things that can happen like speed bumps. So when we have that in the forefront of our mind, it helps that we won't have buyer fatigue when we may get a few knocks on the chin. And I'm going to be there the full time speaking life. That's my big thing. I'm big into energy, into speaking life over what we're going to be getting into, but just understanding that if we take some hits in the road, it's worth it because the long-term goal is what we're really in this for.
I love that.
Perfect. So The price is one thing that you definitely want to pay attention to. And there's a couple of different aspects that can adjust the price or make up the price. The condition of the home, what it looks like. Is there anything wrong with it that physically we can see? The length of time it's been on market. So that's a big one. If we see a house that just went on the market yesterday, we may be in a bidding war, or we may have to lessen our leverage when we offer because there might be multiple offers. Whereas we see something that's on the market 20 days, 30 days, that's a little abnormal for this particular market. So maybe we might have some leverage there to maybe go ahead and ask, hey, are you willing to negotiate on the price? But those are going to be things that we're going to be looking at, as well as the seller's urgency. And that makes way perfectly into the move-in date. So right now, Cynthia, are you guys renting? Is it a month?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're renting in the city.
Okay, perfect. So I love when people are renting, especially if they can be flexible with their move-in date, because I actually had my sellers in the same type of situation. They were owning in the city, but they were selling. And when we went to go offer in Oakley, one of the big differences that got our offer accepted was our ability to be flexible with our close and possession date. So what we did was we offered what's called a rent back. So we closed on a certain day and we gave them 10 extra days to stay in the house, get things out. They had kids. They were going to be moving in with grandma until they found their replacement home. So we had agents calling, just offering really, really quick closes, 21 days, 17 days. Well, what I did for my clients was I called, made some rapport with the listing agent, and really found out that, you know what, if we could get, a 25-day close, but an extra 10 to 15 days, that would work out best. So if you're flexible to that, we could use this to our benefit.
Awesome. Yeah, we're very flexible to that for sure.
Perfect. Great. Now, the additional property is basically all the freestanding appliances, washer and dryer, refrigerator, those type of things. Anytime I write up an offer, I'm always going to ask for those things for you. That way you're not getting into moving into the home and trying to find a refrigerator.
Oh,
But the baby
thank
still needs
you.
food right now.
Yep.
I understand as a parent, there's little things that you need to help make this transition easy. So we're always going to ask for those.
Awesome.
Now, there's three things that can happen when we do submit an offer. The first thing is it's accepted. We're popping bottles. I'm giving you a call, Cynthia. Let's go. We're in escrow. Let's go. That is the best thing that we hope for. We understand and we're very realistic about this market, that there also could be something that's in the middle of the road, and that's called a counter offer. So basically, we set terms and we send them out to the seller. They look at those terms, they identify what they may want to change about them, and they send it back to us. At that point, the ball is in our court, and I will be able to tell you, okay, this is what they're asking for. This is what they're asking for. Do you feel comfortable moving forward? And at that point, if you do, and you want to change some terms, or maybe we want to counter back, we always have the ability to negotiate for a little bit and find out exactly, what is the perfect win-win situation.
Awesome. And you're the one that's doing the negotiating?
Yeah, so basically
Okay, good.
between me and the listing agent, I will be your advocate. And that's where that advocation and education piece comes in. I will be your advocate. So you tell me what terms do work and what terms do not work. And I'll be able to articulate this to the seller as well as the listing agent so that we can come to a place where both parties feel comfortable moving forward.
Awesome. Sounds good.
Of course. Now, the last thing that could happen, and this is why we talked about that why at the beginning, keeping it at the forefront, that stability, getting you guys into a home that you can see her grow to middle school, high school. She's coming back to visit you during college, maybe, those type of things that we're thinking about. And that's because we could possibly get a rejected offer. And at that point, we shake it off, we speak life, we move forward because we know what we want to get to is that stability and providing a home for your daughter and you. So when we do get the offer accepted, though, you will have 3 days to deposit, and that's 3 business days to deposit what's called an earnest money deposit or an EMD. Have you heard of that before?
Yeah, the lender was mentioning it to me a little bit. Yeah.
So the EMD is going to be 1 to 3% of the purchasing price. What I like to say about EMD, I tell a little joke here. Imagine if somebody was coming up, they were offering a wedding ring, but it was an onion ring. And they just said, here, will you marry me? Would you take them that much serious? Probably
No.
not, right? Now, say someone came up, they got the horse and carriage, the white doves are flying, there's red carpet, you got jagged edge, meet me at the altar. They're playing that, they got the 5 carat
Yes,
ring. How do you feel about that? You feel that you take them a little more serious, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's the same thing we want to think about when we're submitting our earnest money deposit to these sellers. They want to know that we're serious about being in contract and completing it with them, that we have some stake in the game and that we want to see this through just like them. But there are protections to your earnest money deposit, and that's what we're going to talk about next. So we have contingencies, and that's what protects that earnest money deposit. There's going to be 3 different types of contingencies. There's the inspection contingency, the appraisal contingency, and the loan contingency. In the inspection, there are 3 different types: general home, pest, and roof. As a first-time home buyer, we're going to make sure that if we were to waive this inspection contingency, it was a very smart decision. Do they have disclosures? Have they had an inspection by a reputable company prior to this within a reasonable time frame? If they don't, I would say we would most likely want to look at and very closely examine if we wanted to waive that, because the inspection contingency really dives into the underneath of the home and things that you don't see. I have inspectors that are always ready and willing to go, but this will be something as we get to that point, we're definitely going to have some Zoom conversations about.
Oh, good.
Now, the next one is your appraisal contingency. So right now you're pre-approved for up to 700,000. That is our buying power. When we go out there, I like to keep the math really, really simple. So say we find a house, 500,000. We say we love it. We really want to be aggressive about our offer. We offer $550,000. Now, your lender, to protect themselves as well as you, is going to order a third party, just mutual person called an appraiser to come out and look at the home, look at upgrades, neighborhood, review the home, and see what they feel comfortable as a mark for the price point that the lender could move forward with. Now, say that price point we offered 550, the appraiser came back at 530. Now that's a $20,000 difference of what the difference is between those 2 prices. At that point, we have a few options. The first one that we can do is we can go ahead and come up with that $20,000. It's called an appraisal shortfall. We cover it. Understanding you've been a first-time home buyer, a single mom, that isn't always the ability to happen. So there's other options. The next thing we can do, we can speak with the listing agent as well as the seller and say, hey, look, you're still getting over asking. Can we come down, or maybe to a certain point that you feel comfortable? Maybe it's a $5,000 difference instead of a $20,000 or a $10,000 where you're willing to meet them. So that's also an option. The other thing that we can do is, because it's an appraisal contingency, we could always walk away and say, you know what, I don't have the money to come up with this. We're going to rely on our appraisal contingency and move forward with another home. But prior to that, we're going to at least try some things to make this work, especially if it's a home you really, really love.
Awesome.
Now, the last contingency is a loan contingency. Basically, this one's really, really simple. So all this says is that if you can't meet the demands of the loan, you aren't responsible for it. That way you're protected if you lose the house, or sorry, if you lose your job, or if something comes up that you can't fulfill the demands of the loan, we can always rely on this to go ahead and back out and move forward somewhere else.
Okay, great.
Any questions there?
Just one. So a lot of people are removing contingencies. I don't necessarily have to, right?
Correct. You've been doing your homework. Yes, you don't have to remove contingencies. That's where our Zoom calls and the education will come into play. We'll go through the disclosures if they
Okay.
have any. We'll talk about what we've seen in the home, but we'll really dive into, does it make sense to remove a contingency? That way we're making an educated decision that mitigates any risk to losing that earnest money deposit.
Okay, that makes sense. I can tell you've really got my back in this. Thank you.
Oh, yes, always, for sure. You can always count on me as well as Team Fast to make sure that we're doing what's best for you. That's what's called
Awesome.
fiduciary duty.
Oh, okay.
All right, so right here is sewer lateral. Have you ever heard of the sewer lateral before?
Sounds gross. No, tell me about it.
It is gross. So it is gross if it backs up. So basically, your sewer lateral is, this is your house, right? And then the pipes that go out to the main municipality or the city and flows out are right here. Well, they're going to most times go through your front yard. So what we want to do is get those inspected just to make sure that they're in compliance. There's no cracks in them or anything that we would have to, look at being a problem in the future, because the last thing we want is for you and the baby to go outside. You got the picnic basket, you're ready to go, and then there's poo-poo water in the front. We definitely don't want that. So we want to get those inspected. That way we know that, everything is moving correctly.
Okay.
Perfect. Now, the next one is the sidewalk ordinance. We're looking in Pittsburgh, Antioch. So this one doesn't really pertain to us. If we happen to say, hey, we want to go to Oakland now, we could always look out there. We have a strong foundation in Oakland, but it just basically says when a seller and a buyer are changing hands of property, that someone is responsible for that. But since we're looking in Pittsburgh, Antioch, we don't have to worry about that, okay?
Okay, awesome.
So the next part is your property transfer tax. This is going to be encumbrance of your closing costs and everything that's going to go into finalizing the loan in the process. This is really going to be, your title rep is going to provide you with a buyer net sheet that's going to let you know property transfer tax, all these different line items that could come up that go over your total amount to close. They're going to go through that with a fine-tooth comb and make sure that you understand and you know it, as well as the lender will let you know too.
Awesome.
Perfect. Any questions?
No, this is great.
Good. I'm glad. Now, this here is just the life of an escrow. So right here is where we're going to be looking at to go from, I say A, which is accepted sales contract. You got a ratified agreement, all the way down to Z, which is welcome home. We got the balloons, we're taking videos. We want to get there, and we want to get there as smooth as possible. So this is what the steps that we have to just close these doors, make sure we take care of them. So there's things like, we're going to schedule inspections. Now this would be based off if we need them. Some houses, like we talked about, may have inspections already done, but if we need them done, I will make sure that they're done in a timely manner. That way it doesn't affect if we're going to get our offer accepted. We'll at least try to put the strongest date forward within maybe 7 days, 5 days, by calling my inspector prior to us getting in escrow and just saying, hey, can you be ready this day if we do get the offer accepted? Yep. Okay, perfect. That way I feel comfortable letting the listing agent know that they're in good hands as well.
Wow.
So we're going to open up escrow, and that's when we're going to deposit that earnest money deposit. It's going to go through wiring, or you can drop off a check, whatever you feel comfortable with. We want to make sure no wire fraud, and we'll talk about this more later, but we just want to make sure that you're protected in that. So I'll make sure you know every step there too.
Okay.
The lender's going to activate the loan, and at that point, we're going to start moving. We're going to keep going and keep going. What I also like to stop here and say is that I'm going to add an extra layer of support for us. I really take my business serious, and I want to make sure that you are covered. So I add an extra layer, which is a transaction coordinator. Through this whole process, they're going to be the extra eyes, making sure our dates are on time, as well as that we're moving in the right direction. So we're going to be in close communication with them. It's going to be a really big team. It's going to be me, you, the lender, transaction coordinator, title, lender. We're going to be moving as one team in unison to make sure all of this goes correctly for you. Okay?
Okay. I didn't realize there were so many people. That's great.
Yes, there's a lot of people that's going to have your back. That's why choosing the right people to be on your team is really important, which is why I suggest lenders to you. I have a array of people to pick from for inspections. That way we're making sure that they're up to par with how we would want to go through this transaction.
Awesome.
So the property appraisal is going to happen. We're going to get it back. Hopefully it comes in exactly at list price. We're going to do everything that we can to make sure that we put an educated offer out there, so we're not running into any appraisal shortfalls or mitigating that risk there. Title is going to run a search, just making sure there's no cloud on title. There's nothing that's going to hinder you from being able to move in and have no problems there. We'll review any disclosures if we need to. So we'll be hopping on Zooms. You'll get very comfortable seeing my face in this medium, but we'll be able to go through that and make sure you feel comfortable moving forward, releasing those those contingencies. The next step is we're going to negotiate, if need be, any repairs or anything on the home. I do like to stop here, especially in this market, and just let you understand. If a seller has done inspections prior to this, it is tough. Good luck trying to get them to do any repairs, because right now they're really like, you know what? We disclosed it, take it or leave it. We got 4 other backup offers. They're also over asking price. One of them's conventional. Their terms look good. So what do you want to do? Just making sure that you understand that aspect, that sometimes those negotiations can be hard, but typically we're going to look for houses that if we do have any inspections on them, hopefully a very clean report comes back, maybe a few items. That is just something to expect. Houses are a little older in some neighborhoods, and the sun, the weather, it just weighs on them. So just something to keep in mind, but we'll dive deeper into that later.
Okay.
So then from there, we're going to start removing these contingencies as we feel comfortable. Okay, inspection was good. We'll remove them. Your loan, you've already completely been underwritten. We're removing those. The appraisal came in perfect. We're removing those. So as we remove those items, that's when I haven't had it happen. But if you were to back out of the transaction, your earnest money deposit would be at risk. So I just wanted to make sure you know that.
Got it.
So if it's, I love this house, let's just go with the house. I know sometimes, you can start thinking about other things, but it would be well worth it. And we're going to make sure you're protected all the way through.
Thank you.
So then now we're going to go ahead and in the last steps of, balancing, depositing the final down payment, the loan's going to fund. At that point, I'm handing you the keys. We got the bottles popping, the little ones doing the dance. We got the robot going, but we're having a great time. You guys are in your home. You guys feel comfortable with the whole entire process, but that's really, really where we want to get you to. And it's just going to take going through these steps, being patient, but being understanding that we also got to be aggressive in this market, but we can definitely get this done.
Awesome.
All right. So that is everything that I had. I did want to open it up right now. Were there any general questions or anything that you had any concerns on, wanted me to go back over?
Jeff, I had a whole list of questions, but you addressed every single one of them. Thank you.
I love when that happens. I usually tell my clients, like, if you have any questions, write them down prior to this, but hopefully during this whole entire process, you will get the answers you were looking for. But also the next step is I'm always here for you at any step in this process. If you have any questions, feel free to send them over. Like I said, I'm also going to send you, didn't mean to stop the share. I'm going to send you my buyer education. So give me 1 second. So what that's going to look like is this here. So it's really going to dive into everything about what's going to happen next. You'll have the ABCs of real estate. You're going to have all of this information to understand everything about the buying process. And if you have more questions from there, like I said, I'm always here for you, but this will also be coming in your email as well shortly.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much.
Of course, it's been a pleasure. If there's no more questions, what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to go ahead and set you up on Real Scout. I'll send you that email with my buyer's education, and then we'll start hitting the road and getting you guys into your home, okay?
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much for your time, Jeff.
Of course, it was my pleasure. See you soon.
All righty.
Boom.
That was awesome.
Thank you.
Dude, that was so good. Okay, awesome. Well, you can go ahead and stop recording on that fire presentation.